Hey y'all, thanks for taking the time to watch this video. If you could watch the video from the beginning to the end in order that it might help us in the algorithm, we're going to have another video today on Mormonism concerning the Lord's Supper Jesus instituted with unleavened bread and unleavened fruit of the vine that was in the house during the Passover feast. And so this is from the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. And so it's a sect. It's not the Church of Jesus Christ. It is a sect that names themselves after Christ, but they really follow Joseph Smith, Brigham Young, and a lot of other individuals who created tradition as commandments. And so if you ever visit with a Mormon sect, what you will notice is that they use water instead of fruit of the vine at the Lord's Supper. And here's this article from the website, the official website. Why do we use water instead of wine for the sacrament? The sacrament gives us sacred opportunity to remember Jesus Christ and to renew our baptismal covenants. Although the Savior gave his disciples wine when he first introduced this ordinance, well, it wasn't wine as you would think about it, as in alcoholic, fermented. It says that it was unleavened, right? The fact that they were allowed to have no leaven in the houses, and then they were supposed to keep the Passover in remembrance of that event, and so they wouldn't have had leaven in there, so it wouldn't have been fermented. The prophet Joseph Smith received the following revelation in August 1830. Okay, so he's saying that, well, it was a commandment to observe the Lord's Supper with fruit of the vine up until 1830. Oh, for 1700 years, what happened to Jude chapter 1 saying, contend for the faith which was once for all delivered to the saints? What about 1 Corinthians, where Paul said to the Corinthians concerning the Lord's Supper to keep the commandments just as he delivered them to them? And he instituted the Lord's Supper with fruit of the vine. And so here's what Joseph Smith says. It mattereth not what ye shall eat or what ye shall drink when ye partake of the sacrament, if it so be that ye do it with an eye single to my glory. And so this is a quote from Joseph Smith, supposedly coming from God. Now, that's crazy. This is turning a tradition into a commandment, which causes a person to not obey the commandment. For example, I had a Bible study with some Mormons, and they said, you can eat and drink whatever you want. They literally said this about verbatim. And I said, so you're saying I can drink Sprite and eat steak? And they said, yes, as long as you remember Jesus Christ. It's like, that's crazy. What happened? What's the whole point of 1 Corinthians 11, where he said, we are all partakers of that one bread? A reference to the Lord's Supper bread, the unleavened bread. What about drinking the cup? Right? What was in Jesus's cup the night he was betrayed? Fruit of the vine. But if you don't drink fruit of the vine, you're not drinking his cup, because that's what was in his cup. You can't be drinking his cup if you're not drinking what was in his cup. It says, today, of course, we also follow the word of wisdom, and since it mattereth not what we drink for the sacrament, church leaders have asked us to use water, which is inexpensive and universally available. So they're saying church leaders. That's not of the Church of Christ. That's of the sect of the Mormons. It says, no matter what is used for the sacrament, we should focus our thoughts on the Savior in our commitment to follow him. But following Jesus involves obeying his instructions, right? Jesus in John chapter 10 says, my sheep hear my voice and they follow me. That's the idea of obedience. They hear him and they follow him. Following Jesus is based upon hearing him. And Jesus said, whoever hears my sayings and does them is the wise man, right? That's the person following Jesus, is the person who hears his sayings and does them. And substituting the Lord's Supper, fruit of the vine, for water is not hearing Jesus and following him. It's hearing Joseph Smith and following him. And hearing Joseph Smith is not hearing Jesus, because it's two different followings. If you follow Jesus, you use fruit of the vine. If you follow Joseph Smith, you'll use water. So if you follow Joseph Smith, you're not following Jesus, because Joseph Smith is teaching something that is having you follow a different path than Jesus would have you to follow. And that's not too hard to understand. You hear it, you follow it. Joseph Smith says use water. Jesus said use fruit of the vine. It's two different hearings. It's two different followings. So let me know your thoughts. You think that you could substitute the Lord's Supper, fruit of the vine, for water because Joseph Smith said so? Is that an acceptable reason to substitute it? Because Joseph Smith said so? And because the sect leaders of the Mormons said so? Do you think that's acceptable to Jesus Christ? Let me know your thoughts. if you agree or you disagree in the comments below.